The three branches of the government are the executive, legislative, and judiciary. Judiciary is the third organ among the three. In democratic countries, the judiciary supplies the most prominent mechanisms that protects the rights and liberties of citizens. It acts independently and is impartially between the state government and central governments, including among the states. It is separate from the departments of the government and is with its own organization and officials. To preserve the integrity and judicial independence of these superior courts, the Constitution has incorporated several safeguards into the fabric of law. Independent, politically impartial, honest, and a competent judiciary is necessary for a strong rule of law and resilient democratic constitutional order. The factors of judicial independence here consist of procedures of appointment and promotion of judges, judicial councils, terms and conditions of judicial tenure, financial autonomy, court administration, as well as judicial conduct and discipline.
Judges must be made as fair and independent of government as humanly feasible in the fulfillment of their duties in order to protect the will, liberties, and rights of individuals from the encroachment of tyranny. Judges of the High Courts, Courts of Appeal, and the Federal Court are appointed by the Yang di-Pertuan Agong acting on the recommendation of Prime Minister after consultations with the Conference of Rulers according to the Federal Constitutions. The Prime Minister should consult the Chief Justice before giving his advice to judges other than the Chief Justice. For promotions, there are no guiding principles in the area of promotion. Seniority and legal knowledge are irrelevant. Judges should be promoted through a performance evaluation program. The performance of courts and judges can be evaluated at various levels, at the national level, at the level of courts, at the level of department within a court, and at the level of individual judges. It also depends on who is in charge of the assessments. In certain nations, a Ministry of Justice or an inspections organ of a ministry is in charge of this, whereas in others, as a High Council for the Judiciary, a Supreme Court, or another higher instance court is in charge. The majority of national evaluations are likely to be limited to judicial performance monitoring. Thank you.
Judicial councils can also be referred to as the Judges' Council. It is composed of judges and lawyers under a governmental agency. It embodies a high standard of conduct and excellency through judicial independency, which contributes majorly to achieving public confidence in the administration of justice. The maximum number of judges for the superior courts is determined by the Constitution. This is done to ensure that it is not easy for the government to pack courts with political nominees. Before becoming a judge, the potential judge will need to take an oath of office of judges. During this oath, they talk on the discharge of duties to the best of their abilities, bearing true faith and allegiance to Malaysia, protecting, preserving, and defending the Constitution. In the Judicial Council, diversity is important. Having a board of judges who are diverse makes the country both more accountable and independent from any form of criticism from other organs of the government. Gender diversity is a rising issue nowadays as women start seeking equal rights and opportunities such as men. The violation of rights that could correlate with gender and race is also avoided by increasing the diversity of judges in the judiciary. The gender disparity in Malaysia itself is also slowly shifting as women are now earning their places as lawyers and judges fairly. Now, everyone has a solid chance to become a judge as the requirements are purely based on one's academic performance and legal abilities.
Judges are the last line of defense for the public, so it is extremely difficult to remove a sitting judge in Malaysia. This affects retiring judges as the law addresses the Chief Justice relatively little jurisdiction. In this context, Article 1253 of the Federal Constitution gives the Chief Justice the authority to recommend to the Yang di-Pertuan Agong the appointment of a tribunal to remove a judge from office after conferring with the Prime Minister. The Constitution admirably mandates that judges be probed by their judges rather than the executive or legislature. Article 1253 and 4 are based on the fundamental premise that judges must be judges by their peers. Next, tribunal proceedings. The Constitution makes no mention of the tribunal procedure. As a result, the openness, fairness, and impartiality standards of common law apply. Natural justice requires the tribunal to provide the accused a fair chance to respond to the grounds for his removal. All superior court judges must retire when they reach age of 66 or no later than 6 months after they reach the age of 66, if the Yang di-Pertuan Agong agrees. A judge, on the other hand, can retire at any time by writing to the Yang di-Pertuan Agong. A superior court judge can be removed if they violate the judge's code of ethics or if they are physically or mentally incapable of performing duties. To dismiss a judge, the Prime Minister of the Chief Justice, after discussing with the Prime Minister, must give the Yang di-Pertuan Agong reasons for the removal. The Yang di-Pertuan Agong must then convene a tribunal of at least 5 judges or former judges of the superior courts to decide whether the judge should be removed. If the tribunal determines that the judge should be removed, they will make a recommendation to the Yang di-Pertuan Agong, who will subsequently order the judge removal. The Judges' Code of Ethics of 2009 outlines how judges should conduct themselves while in office. A judge, for instance, cannot prioritize his personal interests over his judicial duties, use his judicial position for personal gain, bring the court into ridicule or discredit, be a member of any political party, or participate in any political party according to the court.
Hi and Assalamualaikum. Now I will talk about the financial autonomy and court administrations. Financial autonomy refers to an institution's or an individual's ability to independently decide on internal financial affairs such as management, investments, or the transfer of funds or money without external interference. In these situations, an independent judiciary does not require the support of the executive or the legislature, even in terms of money. There are 3 factors in any constitution by which every serious legislator must see what is in this best advantage. The first is deliberations, which covers everything of general interest. The second is officials, and the third is judicial component. Next is judicial finance. It is the statement exercise, free of interference by agents of the executive branches of governments, in the same way that the executive and legislative branches administer monies appropriated for their internal operations. According to Hamilton, the court must also be independent in order to achieve its fundamental task in constitutional government, the safeguarding of persons' special rights or privilege. Furthermore, judicial administrations refers to the processes, methods, and offices that deal with the administrations of the court system. Judicial administrations, often known as court administrations, has traditionally been involved with budget management, jury pool selections, allocating judges to cases, organizing court calendars of events, and overseeing non-judicial staff, known as clerks of the court. Accept court documents for filings, preserve a case file system and a record of all final rulings, and process paperwork generated by judges, also responsible for eradicating racial and gender bias in the courts, ensuring diversity in the court system, and making the court more accessible to persons who are not represented by an attorney. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Kamalia Khairina Binti Mohd Fadzil, and my matric card number is 2020852308. Now I want to explain about the judicial conduct. Judicial conduct is the part of independence of the judiciary in Malaysia. Judicial conduct is the commitment of judges that very important. All the judges must have an integrity in their self because they work at the honorable institute that all the people respect it. If have a judges that has problem, they can take action, which is give the advice, guidance, or the workload of work so they can responsible about it. Next, we go to power of the judges. In Malaysia, judiciary body led by the Chief Justice and the other members, which is President of the Court of Appeal, Chief Justice of High Court of Malaya, and the Chief Justice High Court of Sabah and Sarawak. And the last is the 7 Federal Court judges. All this is very important in judiciary body. As a judges, that must give a justice to all the people that deserve a right. Justice is the thing that need to be defended by the expert people. Court also is the place of defense people, and all the things can be discussed in court. Now we go to the contempt of court. Contempt of court is the decision that made by the court but the people unsatisfied and they not respect it until contempt of court happen. Contempt of court can be categorized in two, which is the civil and the criminal. If the contempt of court happen, it can be ashamed a judicial body because we must know what the decision made by the court, although we not unsatisfied, but it's still legal in law. Yes, people have a freedom of speech, but we can't contempt a court and must follow all the decision. Okay, lastly is the salary and allowance of the judges. According to the Judges Remuneration 1971 Section 2 Part 2, salary and allowance there shall be paid to each of the judges mentioned in the first column of the first schedule salary, as may be specified in the corresponding second column of the said schedule with effect from the specified in the corresponding third column. Therefore, the salary is very important. That is because want to avoid the corruption happen and the payment of judges is right. Also, the salary and allowance can protect their integrity. The judges also cannot be part in the political parties or the political activity. This is because they must take care of the judge's name. And that's all from me. Thank you.
As a conclusion, a system of checks and balance must include the judiciary, even though it is not the only component to ensure a good judiciary system. The judicial branch of the government must be distinct and autonomous from the other branches of government. Judges must be a man or woman of honor, objectivity, and legal knowledge. They should have a feeling of justice as well, including a true understanding of the law. They must have the moral bravery to stand between citizens and the state, administering justice without a fear of the state, other branches, or public opinion. It is the basics of democracy and rule of law. According to the rule of law, all authority and power must derive from a supreme source of law. In an independent judicial system, courts and their personnel are free for improper meddling in the business of the judiciary. The courts can preserve people's rights and liberties with this independence, ensuring that everyone is treated equally. Thank you.